In this video, I will talk about the supervised classification. And down is something about me. I'm Dr. Zubairul Islam, working in the Department of Geography at Igrat University. So what I'm expecting this video, you will see this video from beginning to end. But for the first 12 minutes, I will talk about some kind of, the significance of land use land classification, how it is important for the students of different disciplines. But if you are not interested, you can skip 12 minutes thereafter. Direct, you can start with the supervised classification. So uh, let's begin. So this is the true color image of our world, and here in this image we can see some part is green, some part is yellow, and some part is shown in white color, and some part is shown in blue color also. So broadly these colors shows the blue color is indicating the water, and white color is snow, and green color is the vegetation, and yellow color is the area where the vegetation is either less or there is no vegetation. And in this video our objective is to learn the land use land cover classification. There are two terms, one is land cover and another is land use. So the land cover it refers to the kind of vegetation that blanket the earth's surface, or the kind of material that form the surface where vegetation is absent. For example, in Sahara area or Greenland area or Antarctica, there is no vegetation because of the material is like that, so it does not allow to grow the vegetation. On the other hand, the land use it refers to the functional role that the land plays in human economic activities. For example, the agriculture, the built-up area, the human-made plantation, like that, or human-created some another features. So, when we combine land use and land cover, it becomes land use, land cover classification. So the point to understand here is, as we can see, that each country has a different coverage, and within the country each region has its own coverage. How much is the coverage? If we'll talk about like forest area, the woodland area, the grassland area, the barren area, so our concern will be that how much area is being covered by what class or what land use. So this is the objective of our study. And if we see, we classification is important for the quantification, for the measurement of each class. So if we see here the land classes or land use in 2015, so we can see this image here, and this is the Copernicus data which will help us to know the land use land class of this region. Here, as you can see, this red color area is showing the built-up area. The red color is showing the built-up area, blue color is showing the water area, and this pink color is showing the agriculture area, and there are another colors which are showing some another types of land cover and land use. So with the help of land use and land cover, we can calculate the area of each class, and if we are having the images of different time or different period, then we can study the change also. What is the change is going on in respect of the time. So this is the image of 2015, and this is important for all students who are learning geography or natural resource management, environment science, geology or biology, or another which are related to the study of the surface of the earth. So here this is the Addis Ababa I'm choosing for demonstration the Addis Ababa because Addis Ababa is growing faster than another urban places. It will help us to know that what changes are going on. So this is the image which shows of 2015 Addis Ababa. But if we see 2019, then we can visualize that what is the change. As you can see, the southern part of Addis Ababa, a line, probably this is a road, and here along this road there is more change, as you can see, to 2015, and this is 2019. So it is clearly visualized, you can clearly increasing here. So the red area is showing the built up area. Similarly, it is very good to understand the built up area as well as the water bodies. As you can see, this water body here, this water body is the time period is 2015, but 2019, you can see here it is around the water body, the green area is increasing, means there is more vegetation now compared to 2015. Now we can see the another lake. Let's move to the Lake Tana. We can see that what are the changes going on in the Lake Tana region. Here in this map you can see this is the Lake Tana here, and Lake Tana is the largest lake of Ethiopia, and it is a major concern of the scientific community. They are studying the changes going on in the Lake Tana region. With the help of this land use land cover mapping, you can study that which part of the Lake Tana is shrinking or expanding, and you can study their causes also. So 2015 image shows that this is the blue part, which is the part of Lake Tana. It shows the water area. But if you will see the northern part of the Lake Tana, you will find there is some changes going on. Here, this is the image of 2015 and 2019. If you will see, you can see here 2019, the major change which is going on here, the northern part, the water area is little expanding, and along with water area, the vegetation is also increasing in the northern part of the Lake Tana. Now let's move to the Tigray region, and at larger context we will understand that what's going on there in 2015-19. We will discuss some major changes. So this is the northern part of Ethiopia where the region Tigray region is there, and you can see here this Mekelle is the capital of Tigray region, and the settlement pattern is along the roadsides from Mekelle, then Adigrat, then Adwa, then Shire, then at the end towards the western side, this is the Humera. So let's see in 2015, the land use land cover map shows us that this pink color, the pink color is showing the agriculture area, the cultivation area. So it's very important to see here that all the urban areas, larger urban areas means covered by larger uh, cultivated area here. This is the Mekelle here, this is Adigrat and another cities. So if you let's see the Mekelle here, if I will zoom in Mekelle, we can understand that this Mekelle and this is 2015 image. Let's see 2019. So 2019 here we can see that in the southern part of means south side of Mekelle, there is a water body here. This area, there is a water body here, which is shown in 2000, which is shown here in 2019. Here, this one, and this one neighborhood here is recently developed in 2019, which was not shown in 2015. So this land use land cover classification is important to understand the dynamics of land and how the land is changing time to time, and what are the causes and impact of these changes. You can study with the help of land use and land cover techniques. So it's important, and this important task became easier, and thanks to Google Earth Engine. The Google Earth Engine platforms helps us to collect the data of different time periods easily. And in the Google Earth Engine itself, we can use the simple codes to classify the images into different land cover and land use. So when we are talking about land use and land cover classification, broadly there are two techniques. One is supervised classification, another is unsupervised classification. So in supervised classification, the person who is classifying the image, the human image analyst, the GIS analyst, plays a crucial roles in both supervised as well as unsupervised image classification. In supervised classification, the analyst role is to specify in advance the multispectral reflectance, the emittance value typically of each land use and land cover class. Means it will be decided by the person that this is agriculture, this is forest, this is grassland, this is water, this is built up area. This information will be collected by the analyst, GIS analyst, supervised, as its name indicates, supervision, the supervision of the person who is doing classification. Means this is my supervision. I am instructing to the machine that this is vegetation, this is water, this is barren area. But in unsupervised classification, of course, my control will be to make the classes. I want my image into 10 classes, 20 classes. I will not say that this is vegetation, this is water or something. So this is the difference. So in this exercise, we will talk about the supervised classification. So here for the supervised classification, we have to go through the 10 points, and here the steps are given, and these 10 points and these 10 steps are grouped into 5 categories. Okay, so during the practicing with Google Earth Engine, you have to keep in your mind each and every steps. The first step is you have to choose the area of your interest. That is important because means you are studying what part of the surface of the earth. And in the second and third, that is related to your data, what data you have to use, and that data you have to take in the Google Earth Engine and you will display it. Fourth and fifth and sixth are related with the training points. As we were doing with the ArcGIS, we were making the sample points, thereafter signatures. Similarly, here also we are dealing with the training points, and these training points we have to create, thereafter we have to merge, and after that we have to make these training data sets by sampling regions. So these are the 4, 5, 6. And 7, 8, 9 is related to the classification. We have to create the classifier and we have to classify the image. Then we have to add our classified image. At the end, we have to, for validation, we have to print the confusion matrix, so we can say that our classification is how much accurate. So for that, we will use the accuracy assessment with the help of confusion matrix. So our first task is to choose the area of interest, and let's move to the Google Earth Engine. So as you can see that this is the Google Earth Engine, and about its interface I have already made a video. You can see my previous videos on Google Earth Engine. So here the first task is to choose the area of interest. As you will open the Google Earth Engine, you will find the interface, something like this. But you have to go to the area of your interest. So for that you should set your map center, and by giving the first is the longitude, then the second is latitude, and the third is the zoom level. Then you will run it and you will go to the area of your. So this time here my area of interest is Lake Hike, and my second objective within this one, this is the first task. Within first task, the second thing what I will do, I will choose my region, and region I can choose by point and by polygon also, shape, or by some kind of the like this. So here I'm making a rectangle, and this rectangle will be my region of interest. Let's make it like this maybe. So I have made a polygon, and this polygon information is here. This is variable, and that is the geometry. You can rename it by region of interest maybe. And this is my region of interest, and this is my. So after choosing the area of interest, we have to move the second one, and the second is we have to choose the image collection, and we have to filter as per our requirement. So as you can see here, this variable is the selection. You can give any name here, and this is Landsat 8. The filter bounds, that will be your region of interest. But here, if at the down is clip region of interest. So if you are not giving clipping, means it will give you a whole slide. Whatever its swath is, means as per the swath, it will give the whole slides. Okay. The next thing is you have to filter the date. What date you are interested. Here I'm giving 2017-18, and you can give your dates also. It's up to your interest. The next is we have to filter the metadata. In the metadata, you see, we will not be interested where cloud cover is more. So here in the metadata, there are many things, but I'm choosing the cloud cover. So cloud cover, I need the image out of this time period where the cloud cover should be less than 1. You can make it 2 also, 3 also, 4. If it is not less than 1, then you can increase this cloud cover. And where the cloud cover is less than 1, there may be more slides, so it will give you the mean values, the pixels. Then here clip means what? It will show you only within the region of interest. It will clip the slide to the region of interest. So let's see, we'll do it in the Google Earth Engine. So here we are, and here if I give the same codes like this, and if I will run it, you have to keep in your mind that all these are the filters. Selection is the name. Here you have to give this var, okay, and it is must to give it var. Selection, you are saying I have to select Landsat 8, but if I will run this code, there will be error. Let's do it. The error shows that L8 is not defined in this scope, so I have to define what is L8. So L8, to define the L8, that is the Landsat 8, so you have to choose your data for that. Landsat, I need Landsat reflectance data, okay, reflectance data. So it is showing you the Landsat 8 collection. This is the first tier, top of the atmosphere reflectance. Let's take it. And if you want to know in detail about this data, then you do not click here import, you just click here. Then it give you all the information about the data, its properties, its bands, and suppose here description Landsat 8 collection. So it's a calibrated top of the atmosphere reflectance values. Okay, if you are using this data, you can cite here it's given. So bands are here, band 1, 2, all the bands are given. You can see the resolution of each band and the wavelength also, spectral resolution is also given here. This is the spatial resolution. And if you want to see another characteristics given here. Okay, so if you satisfy with this data, then you can uh, import here. Okay, when you will import your that particular data will come here, and default name will be the image collection, and this L8 basically this is the image collection here. So you can either change to image collection this, or you can change here as L8, means you have to synchronize this name with this name. So let's do it. L8 L8 as it will be done. L8, you see, if I will give some another name like L9 something, then there is no problem, it will change to L9 because it has already been synchronized. So let's, because it's Landsat 8, so it is better to give the meaningful name, that is L8. Here this is L8. Okay, now if I will run this script, you can change like this here. If I run this script, okay, so it says that region of interest is not defined. Why? Because here, ROI is capital, here is small, so I can make it capital here, region of interest. Okay, now again I will run it. So as you can see that I have given this code here, I have filter all my data, and if I will run, it will not display, because to display I need another code. So we are moving to the third step. Okay, so this is our third step, and in the third step I have given here in the light color, I have given the second step code also. So in the second step code I gave the selection here. So now I want to add this selection data to my display. So for that I have to give the code like map.addLayer, then selection. This selection is the selection here, and what bands I want, because Landsat 8 data is giving you 11 bands. So just to display, just for the cause of visualization, I need only 432 bands here. If you want to visualize false color, then you have to get 543, but here I want true color image to visualize, so I'm giving 432. So let's do it in the Google Earth Engine. So now we are open with to display with the Google Earth Engine to display our data, and here we can see that this is code for our third task, third step. Here what I'm doing, map.addLayer, the spelling and everything, it should be as it is. Then this selection is the selection here, selection to selection. Then bands should be 3 to visualize, because visualization is possible with 3 bands. Okay, if you are giving fourth band here, it will be an error. So let's do it, run it. So you can check your progress here. This is processing now. So as you can see here, we have got our data. and this data it is not showing us uh, because here the by default it's a reflectance data, and reflectance, as you know, the minimum is 0, maximum is 1, but here reflectance is the data is showing 0 in the range of 0 to 1, but in actual the reflectance is within 0 to 1 and it is covering a small part. So we have to stretch that part which is actually given in this data. So to stretch that part, what we will do, we will go to this symbol, and here 432 bands are there. Range is 0 to 1, fine, it's custom by default, but we will stretch to the actual data. So here you can stretch to third standard deviation, or you can stretch 100%, whatever you like. Let's do it 100%. Apply, and now you can see the actually the data is showing 2% to 14%, 14.7%. So you will do it, apply. Now you can visualize your data very well. As you can see here, this is the Lake Hike, and Lake Hike is I think there is a town, name of this town is maybe the Hike. You can see here, yeah, Hike, the town name is also Hike. And the good thing with this is, as you have given your region of interest as much here, this is your region of interest, but what you realize is it is not covering the whole town or the area. So what you can do, you can change it. Okay, so if you think that my area of interest is this, I'm getting the less data, then what you can do, you just expand it. Okay, you can expand it, and after expanding, then again you can run it. Okay, again you can run it, so you will see your data now matching the your expanded geometry or expanded region of interest. So this is very it is very easy to change the geometry region of interest, and consequently your data will also be changed. So this is the way you can do it with means the display part of your data. And again I'm telling you here, if 432, then you have to stretch it. Okay, let's do is second standard deviation, make it apply, then you can see your result better. Here you can see this is at standard deviation 2, means discovering more than 95% information now at second standard deviation here. Okay, so we have got the image, the data. Now we'll move to another step. So the fourth step is to collect the turning points, and here I will collect the points for water, vegetation and non-vegetation. Here I'm not taking more classes. Why? Because this is for the exercise and tutorial. The next videos we can take more classes, but here we will take only 3 classes. So now we are open with Google Earth Engine. Now we have to collect our training points. So to do that, I have to take the new layers. I have 3 land classes which I need to cover. The first is I can take the water. I have to import as a feature collection. It's important to the property is the land class, and the value, as I have mentioned, will be the 0. Okay, the value should be numerical. Okay, because in the classification process this value should be numerical. Okay, for second one, water, I can change water like this. Okay, this is, it looks like water. Okay, Then for second is the vegetation area. Vegetation. For vegetation, I will choose this color. My feature collection property. This is land class. It should be the same property, okay? LC. You can that one, okay? And let's take the third non-vegetarian, non-vegetation, non-vegetation. I'm taking here three classes. Feature collection. This is again, this is LC, and here this is the second one. Okay. Now we have non-vegetation area. Just change the color. Okay, it's fine. Okay. So now I will mark the points. It's easier. I can take the point. I can take this shape also, and I can take these rectangles also here. So let's take this marker, and this is water here. And remember, if you want to draw continuously, then it should be locked. If you want to draw one by one, then you can uncheck. Draw one at a time. But I want continuous, then you can click here. Then it's better to take some similar number of points. I will choose 20 points for water. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So I have taken 20 points for each class. This is the way I have already collected the training points. Now we'll move on to the another step. So this is the step 5, and in this step 5 we'll do the merging of the training points. As we know, at stage 4 we have already created water, vegetation and non-vegetation areas, but these are the separate information. We will merge all these three land classes with the help of Google Earth Engine. So what I have to do is, okay, I have taken this variable training points, and training points, this is the function merge water, vegetation merge and non-vegetation merge. This is the way you have to type, or you have to copy paste the code, and this is the print. After running this script, it will print here in the console. So before I run, I do not need these 432 bands here, so I can stop it. To stop, you can go for like this, then just run it. When you will run it, it will show you the feature collection working like this, and you got the result. Now it has merged to the 60 elements. You can expand it, and the features are given here. Total number of features are 60. So it starts with 0 and it should end with 59. Yeah, so total values are 60. So now you can expand it, and you can see the properties. This is land class 0, and for maybe like 40, here you can see the property land class 2. So there will be 3 land classes which we have already given. So we have already merged our training points. Now we'll move to the next step. So this is the step 6, and in this step what we will do, we have already collected our training points, and now these training points we will link with our raster data. Here you can see the collection. Okay, So what does it mean? We will link the training points with our raster data. To do that, let's move to the Google Earth Engine. So to link the training points, here is the code. Okay, you can see this now we want our training data here. The name will be changed, training points. Then here is the training data. Okay, then selection is what? Here is the selection. Okay, this is the link with the selection. And the function is sample regions. And here these are the training points. The property is LC, which we have already given. Here scale is given 30, and the print. Okay, I need to know what is here, what is the result, so I need to print, but this print is not required now. Let's stop it, then do it run. And now you can see I have got a 60 elements, and the properties you can see these are the 12 bands. Okay, it has taken all the bands, and the features. Okay, total number of features are 60, and each feature you can see the properties from the viewpoint water. So water reflectance is 9%, and band number 2 7%, 5%, band number 4 is still very very less, because band number 4 5 6, 5 6 7, these are the bands, these are the infrared bands, so of course the reflectivity will be very less here. Band number 1 is 0.09. Okay, so if you compare band 1 2 3, the highest is 0 band 1, that is the blue one. Okay, so band 1 and band 2 is higher, so the color is dark blue. This is the reason for water. But if you will see for maybe for the vegetation, which starts from 21, you can see the properties. You see here band number 5, it's 25% reflectance. Why? Because this is the vegetation and this is the near infrared band, so the reflectance is higher because this is the vegetation. Okay, band number 1 2 3 is less, band 4, that is the red band here, but in the near infrared part, because this is the vegetation, reflectance values are higher. If you will go to the non-vegetation area, let's see here, the band number 5 is 20%, 17, 30, but it is not as much as in the vegetation area. But in the water area, that is here, you can see in the water area it is very less, because water absorbs most of the energy. Okay, water is absorbing most of the energy, that is why all these values are less. But non-vegetated areas is reflecting more, and when there is more reflectance, this is the reason why it brights. So you can see here 51, that is the non-vegetated vegetative area, so values you will find relatively higher reflectance. So this is the way you can analyze, or you can understand, you can observe the interaction, energy interaction with the land surface or land features. So it's like that. You have done it. Now we will move to the next step. So this is the step number 7, and here we will create the classifier. Remember, first we have to customize the classifier. Okay, there are different types of classifier. What classifier you need? Here I'm using the classifier.cart. Okay, so we have to give the information to this classifier that the trains, the classifier, the trains are the features. The name is now training data. The last time at step number 6 we have created the training data. So we are giving this information to the classifier that the features are from the informer to the classifier card is training data here, and its property is LC. Okay, and what are the bands? Band 1 to 11. All these bands belongs to the Landsat 8 data. So for that, what we will do here, we will take this code. This code will be available to you in the description link. Okay, so you just can copy from there also. And now I do not need to print what. Yeah, this is here. This is classifier. I do not need to print this training data, so I can stop it here. And this is the classifier. I have given the information. By the way, you can see the different type of classifier here by going the documents, and you can see the classifier. And this is classifier card which I'm using. There are some another classifier, decision tree, minimum distance, smile card. Okay, there are different types of the classifiers, and all these types of classifier have different algorithm. And here I'm using this one. It is widely used, e classifier.cart. So we'll proceed to the next step now. So this is the step number 8, and here we will create the classified image. So this is the var classified image, and this selection is here, selection dot classify dot classifier. So we'll take this code to the Google Earth Engine. We'll see there. So here is the code for the classified image. Okay, and this is what, okay, classifier. Okay, this is the classifier here, and okay, here this is the classifier. Okay, so this classifier is being taken by this classifier. Okay, here, this one. But if I will run it, nothing will be displayed because I have to give the code to display this classified image. So for that, I will move to the 9th step. So let's move to the step number 9. So this is the step 9, and here we will see the result, whatever we have done, the coding and everything. Now we'll see the result. This is simple map at layer, then the classified image. Here there are 3 classes, so minimum is 0, maximum is 2. This is the visualization parameters. So minimum 0, maximum 2, and the palettes for 0 is blue, means water is blue, vegetation is green, and non-vegetated area is red. And the name of the image will be the classified image. So let's do it with the help of Google Earth Engine. So to display the classified image here, this is the code which we have already discussed, and now I have to click the run. So we have got the classified image, and now this is our result here. As you can see that the blue area is showing the water area, and the red color is showing the non-vegetated area, and green color is showing the vegetation here. So if we see here the classified image, then here we can see that there are some, there are some pixels, and these pixels are showing water here. Then you can see your image, whether this is really a water. And map at layer, how we can see here, just open it. This is, run it now. So good thing with this technique is you can modify your training, you can add or modify your training points, and thereafter you can run again to observe the uh, your data or to change the data pixels. So here let's see whether, what is this, let's do it stretch. After stretching, let's see this area. Actually, these areas are the, the vegetation, dense vegetation, and this dense vegetation is giving us the water, I think, yeah. So what you can do is the pixels where it shows the water. It shows the water here. It shows the, yeah, yeah, here. What we can do is, this is vegetation, but it shows the, so what we can do here, we can take the vegetation point and we can mark it as a vegetation area. Okay, we can say that this is the vegetation area. Okay, we can say that this is the vegetation area. This is the vegetation area. Okay, this is the vegetation area. If it is actually a vegetation area, then you say that this is vegetation. If this is water, okay, you can say this is water, but here it is not visible. But remote sensing is not only the work for computer, but for that you have to go to the field also, and you have to see, and you have to go to the field with GPS, and you have to take the points at the field, and those points you can give to the Google Earth Engine for the classification. Now we have 26 points of the vegetation area. Now you can see the change when I will run it, and this water area will be turned to the, I don't need this layer here. Now you will see that this water information has been changed to the vegetation, because I inform to the classifier that this is the vegetation. But this is not the way to inform the classifier, unless until you do not go to the field and you do not observe that this land class belongs to the vegetation of water area. So now you can see here that this is our classification of some area, and at the end what we do, we go for accuracy assessment for any class. Without accuracy assessment, we will not be sure that how much we are perfect in our work. Then for that very purpose, let's move to the last step, that is the confusion matrix. So this is the last point, that is the most important point, because we have to be sure that whatever classification we have done, how much accurate it is. And for that very purpose, you have to use this code. And let's move to the Google Earth Engine. So here we are, and we can see that this is the code and the classifier. This is the confusion matrix, and to know about the confusion matrix more, you can see the confusion matrix. You can see that this is all about the confusion matrix. So okay, this is the classifier here. This is the classifier and confusion matrix. When I will run it, it will show me the accuracy. But honestly, let me tell you that here number of points are not more. These are the 20 points, and the vegetation classes are also very less. And these all three classes are we can distinguish easily. But if you are doing something like for different types of vegetation or different type of non-vegetated areas, maybe in between the barren area and the built-up area, then there may be some kind of errors. So but if you will run it, it will show us most probably that your classification is 100% correct. So as we can see here, confusion matrix, and you can see 20 points, 26 points, and 20 points. So for first one, 20 out of 20 points are here. For second one, 26 out of 26 are here. And for third one, 20 out of 20. So it shows your accuracy is 100% in the classification. But this is only for practice. This is for early exercise, practicing only. But you need to do more exercise. You can go for classification of the forested area in different way, and you can choose for different classifier also. Here I'm choosing the classifier card, but you can choose another classifiers also, and you can see the results. So remote sensing and this classification is not only with computer or laptop, but it is means it needs your ground or practices also. You have to go to the ground and you have to see that okay, water is here. Is there any another water area around this lake? So that water area, if it is showing water, then it may be fine. So this was all about the supervised classification. And similarly, we will go for another exercises, especially we will go for regression, and because regression is an important one, and Google Earth Engine has given us the more functions for regression analysis also. So we'll meet in the next video. Thanks for watching. Thank you very much.